Betrayed by the One I Loved, Chapter 3, Whispers in the Dark. The first real red flag came from an unexpected source. A mutual friend who mentioned seeing Jade and Marcus together more often than seemed normal. At first, I brushed it off, believing in my friends. But doubt had been planted, and it grew like a weed spreading through my mind until I couldn't ignore it anymore. It was a late evening when I received a call. A friend, Simone, hesitated on the other end of the line, her voice laced with concern. I didn't know if I should say anything, she admitted, but I've seen Marcus and Jade together a lot lately, and it doesn't seem like just friends. My stomach twisted. I tried to sound casual, tried to dismiss it as a coincidence, but deep down, my worst fears were solidifying. Are you sure? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Simone sighed. I saw them at the little cafe on Greenway last week. They were in a corner booth, just the two of them. And today, I ran into them at the bookstore downtown. It just felt off. The way they were talking, the way he looked at her. I thanked her for telling me, but as I ended the call, my mind was racing. I needed proof. I couldn't just rely on whispers and secondhand accounts. I needed to see it for myself. That night, I barely slept. My thoughts were a mess of paranoia and denial. Was I being dramatic? Was I jumping to conclusions? But my gut screamed that something was terribly wrong. The next day, I decided to test them. I told Marcus I had a last-minute work meeting and wouldn't be available for dinner. He seemed oddly relieved, which only fueled my suspicions. Meanwhile, I asked Jade if she wanted to come over for a girls' night, but she declined, saying she had some errands to run, so I followed her. I told myself I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't some jealous, obsessive girlfriend, but as I trailed behind her, keeping a safe distance, my heart pounded harder with every step. She walked into a dimly lit cafe on the east side of town, one we rarely visited, and there he was, Marcus, sitting in a booth waiting for her. My breath caught in my throat as she slid in a seat across from him, her smile soft, almost intimate. They leaned in close, their voices hushed. Marcus reached for her hand across the table, his fingers brushing hers in a way that made my stomach churn. This was it, the confirmation I had been dreading. A wave of emotions crashed over me. Anger, betrayal, heartbreak. I wanted to storm inside to confront both of them, to demand answers, but instead, I stood frozen on the sidewalk, watching my world collapse in slow motion. Tears burned in my eyes as I pulled out my phone, snapping a quick photo of them together. I needed evidence, not for anyone else, but for myself, so I could never again try to convince myself that I was imagining things. I turned away, my hands shaking as I gripped my phone. The air felt thick, suffocating. My mind screamed at me to go back inside, to make them face me, but I knew I wasn't ready yet. Instead, I walked away, each step feeling heavier than the last. I didn't know what the next move would be, but one thing was clear. My relationship with Marcus, my friendship with Jade, it had all been a lie. And now, it was time to decide what I was going to do about it. The next few days was agonizing. I debated confronting them right away, but every time I tried to form the words in my head, my heart clenched with doubt. What if they lied? What if they convinced me I was overreacting? I couldn't afford to be manipulated, not now. Instead, I started gathering more proof. I checked Marcus' social media activity, his recent locations tagged in posts, anything that could further confirm my suspicions. And then I found it, an old post from 2 weeks ago, a blurry group photo from a night out. Marcus had his arm around Jade in a way that didn't look friendly. The way their bodies leaned into each other, the way she looked at him, It made my stomach drop all over again. I needed to be sure. So against my better judgment, I went through Marcus's phone when he fell asleep. My hand shook as I scrolled through his messages. There were texts between him and Jade, ones that at first seemed innocent but carried a deeper meaning the more I read. Jade, I can't wait to see you tomorrow. I miss you. Marcus, I miss you too. Last night was amazing. My breath hitched. There was more. Dozens of late night conversations, words dripping with affection, with promises, with secrecy. I wanted to scream, to throw his phone across the room, but instead, I placed it back where I found it, swallowing my pain. I needed to be careful. I needed to plan my next move. I wasn't just going to confront them anymore. I was going to expose them. If you're enjoying this story, Betrayed by the One I Loved, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means everything, and it helps bring more chapters to life. Share your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think deserves the most blame? What would you do in this situation? Stay tuned for Chapter 4, where the betrayal unravels even further. Stay tuned, stay locked in, and as always, stay sucker free. And I'm out.